It's not the Trek people want. Star Trek Section 31 actor shares fears about how the new movie will be received. Star Trek Section 31 star Rob Kaczynski shares his concerns about how the upcoming movie will be received. Kaczynski plays a Section 31 agent named Zeph. As Star Trek's first streaming movie, Section 31 will be released exclusively on Paramount Plus instead of having a theatrical release. Section 31's cast is led by Michelle Yeoh as Philippa Georgiou, a role Yeoh first played in the Star Trek Discovery series. The movie will follow Georgiou and the secret Starfleet division known as Section 31. While speaking with SFX magazine via Trek Movie, Kaczynski explains that he is worried about Section 31's reception because it is not more of Star Trek, The Next Generation. He discusses how fans always want more of The Next Generation, even though The Next Generation was not well received when it first started. Kaczynski emphasizes that Section 31 does not feel like The Next Generation and feels different from any Star Trek story that has come before. Check out his comments below. I'm terrified of how it's going to be received, because it's not the Trek people want. The Trek that people want, the Trek that we all want, is just 1,000 more episodes of TNG. Everyone's always furious that they're not getting more TNG, whilst at the same time, when TNG came out, everybody hated it. So this is going to come along, and it's not going to feel like any Trek that they've ever seen. Kaczynski's concerns are understandable with Star Trek being a beloved and long-running franchise, and every new story comes with high fan expectations. However, his point about The Next Generation being largely hated when it debuted proves that a project's quality and success are not always determined by initial reception. Much of the initial dislike surrounding The Next Generation was due to it feeling too different from the Star Trek that fans knew and loved. Based on Kaczynski's comments, Section 31 will also feel different and even unfamiliar in certain respects. Instead of this being a weakness, it can be a selling point, with Section 31 being an exciting and innovative chapter in the franchise. It may feel jarring at first, but has the potential to be outstanding because of how distinct it feels from other Star Trek stories, and could even lead to other Star Trek characters getting their own movie in the way that Section 31 is Georgiou's movie. Our take on Rob Kaczynski's comments. Kaczynski's comments tap into the cycle that nearly every Star Trek movie and series goes through, in a cycle that is familiar to other franchises as well. At first, most new movies and series are divisive, and are often deemed to be inferior to the stories that preceded them. As time goes on, the once new stories become increasingly popular and appreciated, and then the cycle continues with the next set of projects. The response to Star Trek Section 31 will likely be mixed, especially with it being the franchise's first streaming movie, but its ultimate legacy will probably be positive. Since its inception in the 1960s, Star Trek has been a franchise built on exploration, diplomacy, and the indomitable human spirit. Yet, as the series has evolved over decades, so too have the types of stories it tells. From the hopeful optimism of the original series to the grittier moral dilemmas in Deep Space Nine, Star Trek has always reflected the times in which it exists. Now, with Star Trek Section 31 on the horizon, one of its actors has expressed concerns about how audiences will receive the film, fearing it may not be the Trek fans want or expect. A different kind of Trek. Unlike previous Star Trek films, which typically center on exploration, starship battles, or high-concept sci-fi ideas, Section 31 shifts the focus toward espionage and covert operations within the Federation. Originally introduced in Deep Space Nine, Section 31 is a shadowy organization that operates outside Starfleet's ethical guidelines, doing whatever it deems necessary to protect the Federation. While the concept has been explored in DS9, Enterprise, and Star Trek Discovery, giving it an entire film marks a stark departure from Star Trek's traditional storytelling. One of the film's actors, who remains anonymous but has been involved in past Trek projects, has voiced concerns about this tonal shift. I think this movie is going to surprise a lot of people, and I'm not sure all Star Trek fans are going to like it, they said. Section 31 is a darker, morally ambiguous part of Star Trek, and I think some fans might see it as too far removed from what they love about the franchise. A legacy of hope versus a story of shadows. For many, Star Trek is about hope. John Roddenberry's vision depicted a future where humanity has overcome its worst impulses to create a peaceful, enlightened society. While conflicts still arise, they are usually resolved through diplomacy, logic, and teamwork rather than subterfuge and clandestine assassinations. That's where Section 31 represents a sharp contrast. It's not about exploration or cooperation, it's about eliminating threats before they become problems. In DS9, the organization justified war crimes in the name of survival. In Discovery, it was responsible for extreme measures that almost led to disaster. By centering a film around Section 31, Paramount is betting on a spy thriller take on Star Trek, which might appeal to general audiences, but risks alienating core Trekkies. There's a big difference between a Star Trek movie and a Star Trek-themed espionage film, the actor continued. I worry this might lean too much into the latter. People love Star Trek because it inspires them. Will this film do that? I'm not sure. A franchise in transition. The Star Trek franchise has gone through several transformations over the years. From the episodic structure of the original series to the serialized complexity of Deep Space Nine, the rebooted action-packed films of J.J. Abrams, and the more introspective approach of Star Trek, Picard, each iteration has brought something new. However, the franchise has also struggled with audience expectations, particularly in recent years. While Star Trek, Discovery, and Star Trek, Picard both have their dedicated fan bases, they have also faced criticism for their darker tones and departure from classic Trek ideals. Some fear Section 31 will follow this trend rather than embracing the optimism that once defined the franchise. Another concern is how Section 31 will fit within the broader Star Trek universe. Michelle Yeoh's return as Philippa Georgiou, a fan favorite from Discovery, is an exciting prospect, but can a morally ambiguous, espionage-driven story satisfy fans who crave exploration, diplomacy, and intellectual sci-fi? Balancing old and new. This isn't the first time Star Trek has experimented with its storytelling. Deep Space Nine pushed boundaries by exploring the complexities of war and the moral compromises necessary for peace. Enterprise played with temporal Cold War elements. Even The Next Generation had its share of darker moments. However, what made those series work was their balance. For every grim storyline about the Dominion War, there were episodes about discovery and personal growth. If Section 31 leans too far into its espionage premise without offering the classic elements that make Star Trek special, it risks alienating longtime fans. Can Section 31 succeed? Despite these concerns, Section 31 does have some strong elements working in its favor. Michelle Yeoh's return as Emperor Georgiou brings star power, and her character's arc has always been compelling. The spy thriller angle could also bring fresh energy to the franchise, potentially attracting new viewers who might not typically be drawn to Star Trek. But for Section 31 to succeed, it needs to do more than just tell a gripping spy story. It needs to feel like Star Trek. That means addressing the moral dilemmas of espionage within the framework of Trek's core ideals. It means showing that while covert operations may be necessary, they come with consequences. Most importantly, it means leaving audiences with a sense of wonder and optimism that has defined Star Trek for decades. A divisive future? The unnamed actor's concerns reflect a broader uncertainty within the Star Trek community. Can a film about one of Trek's most morally ambiguous institutions still resonate with fans who see Star Trek as a beacon of hope? Or will it be viewed as another step away from what made Star Trek beloved in the first place? Star Trek name attached to it. For now, fans will have to wait and see. Will Section 31 be a bold new direction for Star